And welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thank you so much for checking out the series. As always, you know what to do. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. I put out 3 new interviews every single week, and it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And one of those, I'm so excited to be talking today to Yola, who is back with a brand new record called Stand For Myself. Hello, how are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me.
It's so good to see you. First off, I get to say something that I haven't been able to say for a year, and you have the honors here because you're coming here to Louisville to play a show, a live in-person real show, July 18th at the Brown-Forman Amphitheater. So that's exciting.
It's really exciting because, like you say, we haven't been able to say this. We've been kept away from each other, and us music obsessives need to be bathed in those sound waves. We can't just have it through a teeny speaker. We need it all over. And so it's glorious to be able to announce that I'm coming to Louisville and I'm playing in a big old amphitheater with Chris, and it's going to be a great time.
Yep, that's true. I cannot wait for that, and especially knowing now from what I've heard from this brand new record and these amazing songs that you've given us. Because you said bathed in sound, and I feel like that's exactly what I got from this album. There is so much musical territory that you went over on this. I mean, it's like a playground of music is happening. Did you have was there a checklist of sounds at all that you wanted to do?
Not even a bit. So some of these songs came from like far back as 2013. Some of them, but it was all a representation of what it's like to be in England. So this is the thing that people might not be aware of. Mm-hmm. Our radio was very ungenred, like dramatically ungenred. So you could have Bjork next to Tribe Called Quest, next to Nirvana, on a just flowing through next to Brownstone or Mary J. Blige or something, flowing and just smoothly. They find ways weave these kinds of songs together, and like it might not be that they were right next. There might be a song linking between them. Tops. It was just broad. And so Brits generally, right up until like the late 2000s, really were bathed in this completely cross-genre playlisting. And it's normal. Mm-hmm. And so here's another thing that, again, I've not mentioned this to anyone but you're going to get it. It's fine. And so also players. So when you're looking for band players, because it's quite a small island as well, and we're just absorbing all of the stuff, there's not a plethora of people to choose from. We don't have that massive gene pool of people. And so you'll learn jazz, rock, funk, disco, soul, classical. Like you have to learn all of this stuff and be aware of it, because when they find a good player, they want to use them. So that's kind of part of the environment that I come from, that we were all born in as Brits. And it's very easy to not be aware of that in other parts of the world, because maybe you weren't so centrally located as we are. And so that's why this record sounds like it does, why Whatever You Want sounds a bit Britpoppy crossed with classic pop, and why Dancing Away in Tears sounds disco as heck, and why you can hear like Smokey Robinson and Now You're Here and Barely Alive, and like why you can hear doo-wop in Great Divide, and it's because we weren't even just playing current music, we'd be always mixing in like classics. And so it's really normal to be like, oh, I'm abreast of all of this stuff that at the same time, same playlist. And so that's what it was like growing up. So if you want to know what it's like to be a 30-something Brit, listen to the record.
Which you should listen to the record anyway.
You should do.
I will say, you know, coming from a station with WFPK here in Louisville, we'll play Nirvana next to Yola. Like, that's not uncommon. But it is uncommon, as I say, to get a record. Because a Nirvana record sounds like a Nirvana record, you know, but the Yola record, of course, we're getting so many things. I mean, I love that you brought up some of those songs, Dancing Away the Tears, because I wrote down, it's like, I really do want to do the hustle. I don't even know how to do the hustle, but I want to.
You learn. You know, I'm going to learn so I can do it to this song.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing.
You hear all the connective tissue. And I think I've talked about being genre fluid and like, the idea is the fluidity of it. It's not that I'm just across things, it's that they flow into each other. So, for example, you wouldn't say that Little Richard sounds like Prince, but you can see the connection.
Absolutely.
Clear as day. It's not like, oh, I don't know. It's like, it's obvious. But, you know, it took a journey was had, you know, but you can hear the connections, you can feel the connection, and these are the things that I find interesting in all things, in humanity, as well as in art, is the connective tissue, the things that make them connected in the way that they are, to complete the story, instead of dissecting them and them going, this is a monolith over here, and this is a monolith over here. It's like, no, none of those stories were that way, like, ever. And obviously I'm playing Sister Rosetta Tharpe in the up-and-coming Baz Luhrmann movie.
Amazing.
Amazing, right?
Amazing. Let us take that moment to say that, by the way. First off, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, as far as I'm concerned, started rock and roll. Like, to hell with Ike Turner, you know, and all of that. Like, Sister Rosetta Tharpe did it.
All of that, she created it.
Right. It was her. And then to be in Baz Luhrmann production of, I mean, please continue.
Yeah. And so I'm in a situation where I'm like, he's done research up the wazoo, by the way, as you'd imagine. He's a very thorough guy. And you can tell by the way he does movies that it's profound. And so again, here he's on the research train, he's gone deep. And we're talking about he's gone and been talking to people who were in the area at the time, the children of, and he's just gone deep, deep, deep. And you hear of B.B. King going to her night on Beale Street, and Elvis going to her night on Beale Street. You hear of her discovering Little Richard and bringing him to the fore. And all of these people, including Ike Turner, who went to Beale Street, who went to Memphis to connect with the music. And it was her night. That was the scene. So she had this night at Club Handy. And so it's like this whole concept of like, oh, no, babe. Like, it was her night.
It was her.
She was the matriarch of this scene, and everything that we know as rock and roll sprang from that room, that scene, that night. And that ran, for years. And I think that's what's important about representing her, that I realized I had to kind of hold myself with that level of majesty, like, you've given birth to such a large percentage of contemporary music. It's really hard to quantify, like her discovering Little Richard, and then us talking about Prince. You don't get Prince without Little Richard, you don't get Little Richard without her. And then you go, wait a minute, a man wearing half a ton of makeup who's super extra, of course that was discovered by a queer woman. A white guy didn't let that happen in the 50s. Are you kidding me? No. Like, it makes, I see how that became a thing. So yeah, like and the campness across rock and roll. Like, you think, oh, of course there's queer women were at the beginning of this. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Big Mama Thornton. This isn't like, it speaks of it. It's all there, but it's all like, the narrative has been subverted and, pushed down a little bit. And so Baz was really like about rectifying that story.
I love that.
And we were all talking about it, and like we were all about it. So all the Beale Street Squad were like, we're ready to retell and to straighten this whole story out through the prism of Elvis. And so, yeah, like get ready for that. We are pulling no punches. This is extremely well-researched stuff. And so that kind of flows very smoothly back into this record, and me standing for my interpretation of what my life experience is like, and that it isn't a monolith. You can, you know, the last record wasn't a country record. It was country and soul and classic pop and a bunch of other stuff. And if you focused on that and you get a little bit miffed that you focused on the wrong thing from the gate, sorry, dudes. You weren't even looking day one. So, like, you know, that's what it is. It's like, I stand up for my right to nuance and to being seen for me. And I love representing Sister Rosetta Tharpe for her being very her, even despite the environment that she was in, the era she was in, you know.
There was a moment just a few days ago. It is such a fun coincidence here that I'd said on Twitter that, you know, when I was growing up in the 80s, you would still say that Bill Haley and the Comets started rock and roll, you know? And then by the time we got around to the early 2000s, like, okay, Ike Turner started. And then what I said is like, we've already changed it once. All we have to do is say it enough times. Sister Rosetta Tharpe started rock and roll for it to become fact. That's how it happened last time, you know?
That's how it works. That's how it all works. We just keep saying it. Sister Rosetta Tharpe invented rock and roll. She was the first person, to play with that distorted guitar sound. Like, people were playing clean all day long, but we're talking about real rock and roll as we know it with distorted guitars. That's her.
Yep,
Sorry,
absolutely.
dudes. Literally, in this case, dudes.
I do want to bring something you said earlier back around to this, again, amazing new record, Stand for Yourself, or Stand for Myself, yourself, myself, it depends on who I'm talking to here. Because you were talking about, you know, the divide in genre, you know, and the cross-pollination going on. I find that's interesting that it comes up in your themes too, not so much about music, but politically. I'll get into Diamond Studded Shoes. This is one of those songs that keeps me up at night because I just put it in the loop and in my head and it just keeps going and going. But this does touch on divide and conquer politics as well, right?
It really does. And divide and conquer politics is for all of us to suffer from equally. People don't always realize that. They're like, oh, you're from this side. I'm like, sweetie, there is no side. It's a trick. It's all a trick, guys. It's always been a trick. They're just trying to go, if you don't all realize that you're all living the same situation and then avert your eyes to whoever it is with the puppet strings taking all of your money, or like if they can get us like just doing that, then we don't have the time to go, wait a minute, like, and that's all it is. That's all it's ever been. And when I say all it's ever been, that's all any ruling empire has done to maintain its power.
Absolutely.
Extract gen pop. And so, like, that's what that song's about. It's like, this is BS. And the divides are BS. And even the concept of race actually means species. Like, if you look in the dictionary, which is what we're talking from, you know, as people that speak the English language, even if it's English or American English, it's still English. And even if you were translate it into any language, that's what it means. And so we're not different species. Different ethnicities, yes. Species, no. But the programming that does to create that sense of extreme difference is profound. And that I struggle with that. And I stand in my blackness, I stand in my ladydom, like, with pride and with absolute refusal to apologize for my plus sizeness or anything for that matter. But I don't subscribe to the things that manufacture false divides to make a battle that doesn't need to happen. You know, and I think once we can get our heads around the battle that doesn't need to happen, because if you do truly divide, and even if with an aim to get power for yourselves, you're losing the greater war at all times. And that's why like that song came out the way it was. I was talking to Aaron Lee Tasjan.
I love Aaron Lee Tasjan. We love him over here.
Yes, we love Aaron Lee Tasjan. He's like my brother. I love that man. And so we're over a bottle of wine, you know, getting drunk, talking crap, you know how it is with your friends, right? And like, oh God, and it was 2017. So he who shall not be named had just kind of like appeared over here. I Voldemort him, okay? Mm-hmm. And over in the UK, Theresa May was giving talks on austerity and how tough it was finding money in her diamond-studded shoes, and with like a fully like designer outfit, like, we pay you, boo. It's kind of obvious, wardrobe, that you ain't struggling. And so, like, yeah, maybe don't take another pay rise. And they always get pay rises. It's like, regardless of what's happening, it's embarrassing. Anyway, so we were having that conversation and going, this whole thing's been a hustle from day one. That's what it is. They're just like, oh, I'm sorry, there's no money. Glugging champagne, getting on that sedan share. Bye, bitches. Like, you know. I was just like, and they try and go, oh, it's the upper middle class that have got your money, or it's the working class that have your money. I'm like, none of them have your money. It's a trick. Yeah. So, like, that idea of the paradigm shift of thinking is central to the record. The record isn't political. The record isn't. It's about the microcosm of your paradigm of thinking, and how that affects everything, you know, and that if we can win the battle within, we can win the battle without.
I love that. That's you probably summed up. That's probably the pull quote from the interview right there, by the way. That's,
you know what it is. Yeah, just put that in and then be like, yeah.
That's it right there. The way you've made all of this poetic, because even in those moments, even, you know, the political moments right there, the way you've made them poetic in this timeless fashion. And I love a good protest song that's, you know, For Dead in Ohio, for what it stands for in that moment, especially, is great and everything. But to have these type of timeless songs that carry on beyond this movement and further into the future, that's not an easy trick. And I can only, congratulate you over and over and over on how you pull this off.
Thank you. Poetry has been my passion day one. My English teacher was like, so clearly songwriting's your thing. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, we're going to get you into poetry so that songwriting is stronger for you. And that was my English teacher, Mr. Clare. We grew up just him making sure that I was on point with it. And I had so much support from him. And I never forgot him. And he came to shows for so many years after as well. And awesome. It's been big, like, poetically talking about my life. It almost, for me, is more satisfying to allow those ideas to coalesce than it is to kind of try and muscle them in through, like, writing prose for an article or something, or giving a speech on something like that. That's not my way. Like, my way is to poetically speak on that and to find an elegance in the boiling down to the salient points. If I can do that, then I think that has power, and I think I find a more central truth when I do that.
Yeah, well, you do it so well. Again, so well.
Much.
And the way the songs, I'll actually close out with this too, because you surround yourself also with people that do that. Like, we're also playing the new singles from Amythyst Kiah and Allison Russell. Like, I know you're already a high woman, but it looks like you're dancing around becoming an Our Native Daughter as well. So it's, these artists. My
favorites. Yeah. Like, those records are incredible. They're incredibly talented. It's just inspiring to see their stars ascend too. And I used to live with Allison. And so we both just moved, and we realized that we didn't want to live very far apart. So it just bought. I'm just renting at the moment, but like, we're really close to each other because we just were like, oh, we don't want to be that far apart.
Baby steps.
baby steps. You know, I don't know if I can handle it quite yet. And so, like, yeah, we live real close, and we're trying to get Amythyst to move as well. Amythyst, come on, girl! Like, she was thinking about it. So hopefully we'll get the full squad up here. It'll be glorious. But yeah, like, I'm making sure I'm surrounded by just peak empaths and people who are just about it, you know, because, you know, if we're going to bring this whole situation of the illusion of division together, we need to find the minds that also don't believe in the delusion of division. And those two are prime examples of exactly that. So,
absolutely.
But everyone's welcome. It's time to squat up.
It's time to squat up. Yola, the new record is called Stand For Myself. You are going to be here in Louisville, July 18th at the Brown-Forman Amphitheater with Chris Stapleton, right?
Yes. Who's another person who doesn't buy into any of the BS. He's
absolutely
an absolute boss, peak empath. We love that man. He stands for beautiful things and just connection. And you feel that when you're on the road with him. So I'm just so excited to get back on the road with him. We did one show before lockdown, and that was it. And it was like the most horrible tease. So
looking forward to it. Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about it. I'm such a fan. This has been so fun.
It has been. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Hey. All right. I haven't figured out this. Oh, I think I have. I'm grown up. I can do it. All right. Bye.
Bye.